just feel so good, good, good. I just feel so good, good, good. I just feel so good.
So we are basically here to talk about Create. We tell you guys to use Create, and I think everybody knows that it's good, it's gonna be good for your business, but you don't know all about why. So we're gonna let Jordan tell you about why, and I'm going to try to translate because sometimes he goes off the rails.
Why are we here? Like Heather said, we're going to cover some topics about not only Create, but a little bit of some other products that we may or may not be working on based on other announcements that happened in the last, and how we do that. So one of the key statistics to know and to keep in mind as we talk is that 78% of traffic across Mediavine took place on mobile devices. That is predominantly phone-sized devices, but also it does mix in some tablets. That's a huge amount of traffic, and it continues to grow. And so that's sort of how we start thinking about the products we're building in the first context. So Create is mobile first. When editing, looking at your site, odds are you're seeing a desktop perspective. What that means is, like, when you edit a site, you're in WordPress, you're probably looking at your desktop. And that can sometimes create a false perspective of what your user might actually be seeing. But if 78% of your traffic is mobile, they're not seeing that desktop experience, and so you know, always want to check what your mobile experience is. And we make Create so that it is mobile first for the purposes of trying to make that happen. So mobile first, I need to explain that, right, Heather?
Yeah, I want you to tell them well, honestly, I want to know what the mobile layout by default means, because we all know that we should pay attention to mobile first. That's where our money is.
So when we started building Create, we worried about speed at every layer, and we started to worry about making sure that Create would work in as many contexts as possible. We have a lot of fancy words as engineers because we like to sound important. So we have things like progressive enhancement and mobile first. What that means is when you load a page, the first view, before the JavaScript runs, before anything happens, the default is for the card to render in a mobile layout. And that's for a variety of reasons. First of all, 78% of your traffic is mobile, which means we can skip out on some operations, which I'll explain in a second, that allows us to be more efficient. But also it means that in the event that the JavaScript should fail because of a bug, hopefully in a different plugin than one that we're working on, or because the user, believe it or not, might have turned off JavaScript, they will still have a perfectly usable experience in that card. From there, we can measure the size of the content area and increase and change the card to be more appropriate for that content space.
I have a question.
Yes.
Does that happen really fast?
It does happen really fast. We work very hard and continually to try and keep that operation as fast as possible and try not to do more work than we have to. The other thing that this lets us do is size to your layout. With Create, like many of you have blogs that look very different. You have different widths for your primary text. It's relatively in the same space, but it does range. One of the things that Create is able to do and does is sort of measure the width of the space that it has to work with and grow to match that space appropriately. That way you don't get that weird overflow side scroll thing that you might have seen some places. Create is fast. Absolutely, 100%. We worry about speed on Create every single day. And I basically obsess about it when I'm flying on the plane. I'm getting ready to give a talk. I'm like, hey, did we check this thing? Can we do this thing? And I stress the crap out of all of the people who work with me.
Is it because you like page speed or just because you're nervous?
It's because I like page speed. Pretty much every day I'm trying to figure out how we can make sure things are faster. And so we actually worried about that both from the beginning of the day one. We architected. Engineers like to use word like architected because what we really wish we were is something as cool as an architect, but in fact, we are just software engineers. It's architected and I organized so that it uses efficient database queries. Now I have to explain database queries, right? That's what you want me to do? Next slide.
Yeah.
Heather said, let's keep moving.
Because there's
my notes. Okay, so so that means that we do fewer database queries, or we do more efficient database queries to make sure that the card is rendered faster. If you're running page caching, this doesn't really matter that much because you're using good page caching, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be responsible in how we build it in case you don't run page caching. One of the things that we rolled out with 1.5.0 was lazy loaded CSS. One of the big resources that you'll start to see in Lighthouse and page speed tests is that your CSS is a blocking operation. And I'm using that word operation again. It's basically just a thing that happens when the page loads.
I'm going to pause you.
Okay.
Because we want to talk about, everybody knows what lazy loading is, right? Because Mediavine lazy loads ads, and because when you run a GPSI report, it tells you to lazy load your images. So this just lets that happen, but also with your CSS. It waits until it needs to happen.
Yes. So we use, and we're going to get technical, and I apologize, but I really like intersection observers. We use what are called intersection observers, which are a JavaScript utility that allows us to know when something is entering the space that a user can see. So rather than do all of the things that we need to do to make the card look pretty, right when the page loads, when the page is trying to do hundreds of other things like make your header look nice and do the JavaScript for your menus or load, ads, because those are very valuable for you.
They're lazy loaded, Jordan.
They are lazy loaded, but they still have to do that earlier in the page than when they might need the create card. And so we don't run the CSS and the JavaScript that really needs to happen until you're getting close to the create card and the user needs that action to happen. We also use conditional loading. There's a lot of, I don't remember, I never think about how technical these terms are.
So I want to go back to minimize JS footprint and lazy JS operations because none of us know what that means.
Okay.
We just know that when you run a page speed insights report, there's like JS in 74 places and you don't know what to do with it. Yes.
All right.
And
So we'll start with minimize JS footprint. In an upcoming release of Create, because it needs some additional testing, we are shrinking our initial JavaScript size from about 45 kilobits, which is, I don't know how to, it's 14 to 45, so we'll hope that works. 45 kilobits down to 14 kilobits. So it's getting a lot smaller to make that footprint smaller so that your page will load faster, but it can still do all of the things because what that 14 kilobits does is just tells us where's the create card on the page. All right, now I know where the create card is on the page. I'll let you know when you need to load all that extra CSS and JavaScript to do reviews and do the resizing and do all of the things that it needs to do to look beautiful. So that's one of the things. That's what lazy loaded operations and the minimize footprint is. And conditional loading is if you're not enabling a feature in Create, we try not to load the necessary code that would run that feature because why would you need us to load that if you don't need it?
So as far as your create card goes, it is not going to give you all of the annoying little things in your Google PageSpeed Insights report.
The other thing I want to follow up with is we are always looking for new opportunities to improve. Like I said, we found a new way to make our JavaScript footprint smaller, and we're going to do that. We have new ways that we think we can make your database operations faster. We're going to do that. Just because we are one of the fastest plugins on the repo right now doesn't mean we can't find opportunities to become even faster.
How do you look for new opportunities?
How do I look for new opportunities? One of the great things about browsers moving forward is that they open up new opportunities in the way the browser can do more work for us more efficiently. That's like the intersection observers. That's like lazy loaded images. All of those things. So just like in Trellis, when we're building Trellis, we're worried about not only are we lazy loading images, but depending on the browser capabilities, we lazy load the images the most efficient way. Chrome launched their native lazy loaded image, so we use that. But if you're in Safari, we use a different library. And if we use Firefox, we use the best thing for Firefox. We think about that all the time, and we do our best to always look for new opportunities. One of the things that Eric talked about yesterday is indexes. How many people here, and I'm hoping it's more than one of you because that will just be embarrassing, have used lists in a related post kind of context? All right. Indexes is going to be a better tool for that same purpose. However, you have all known related post widgets and experiences can really drag a site to a halt. We have a solution for that. When you use Create and you click the Publish button, we actually store everything that is needed to render a Create card in one piece of data in your database. We're going to take that same principle and apply it to related posts. So when you add a post that would go into one of these experiences, it will update that data so that it doesn't need to do that query when a reader needs it. It's going to have done it before the reader ever uses it. And so that's where we're trying to go, is to make sure that while we create those compelling user experiences for you to help gain traffic and retain traffic, they're also not dragging your site to a halt. All right, create a schematic. All right, schematic's not the right word, but I'm doing a thing with the create is thing, I'm sorry. Look, rich snippets. So I'm going to jump to the snippets. Some of these slides might look familiar from Eric's talk. It's because we're programmers and we like to reuse things. So we have lists, which you saw yesterday. You have how-to schema, which you also saw yesterday. However, I made a recipe card slide. One of the cool things that started to show up in these snippets is they're actually putting video. When you have video assigned to a snippet, it's also showing up in these snippet views. And so we have a few here, and I'm going to skip back to my other slides, if it'll let me. Yes. All right. Recipes, how-to, lists. One of the things that Create did as soon as we could is we came up with a way to make it as easy as possible for you to check your structured data against Google's structured data tool and the rich snippet tool. And we're very proud to make that as available as possible, and we encourage you to always check that and update that and make sure you're aware of what's going on. The big advantage of rich snippets are that it makes you look good in search results. Many of you may or may not know that those only appear in mobile search results, but if 78% of your traffic is mobile, that's still most of the traffic that might be searching for your content is going to see the rich snippet experience, and that's going to lead them to your content.
Does everybody use that little cheat function in Create where you can check and see what your results are going to look like before you publish? It's my favorite, especially if you've been writing for a long time and you're entering all the information. There's a little box that you can check. It shows you what the results look like, and it shows you if you hit all the little points in the structured data. It is very cool, and it takes like 2 seconds.
Create is ad optimized. Most valuable content for the win. That's my only sports reference, I'm sorry. One of the big advantages of building Create at Mediavine is that we are the same one engineering team. We have several different sections in our engineering team, but in order for us to achieve the objectives we wanted with our JTC, we worked directly with the ad tech team to create some utilities that allow us to do it the best way possible. We worked very hard on that. We did multiple versions until we were happy with the result, and we will continue to iterate that just as we've iterated everything else. We also were able to add multiple ads to the card, and we worked with the ad tech team to make sure the utilities that we needed to make that happen and work for you are working with the web wrapper and the script wrapper to be as effective as possible and to help you monetize that most valuable content. Again, like I've said before, and we always look for new opportunities to find new experiences that are going to help drive your revenue while also being excellent user experiences.
Jump to card with that optimization, new opportunity.
Additionally, like I said, unified, I might have duplicated the slide. There's a nice little jump to recipe button. You should see what that looks like. Again, this is a slide showing, again, I stole it from Eric yesterday, but it shows you the locations and the placements of those additional ad units inside the cards. Create is growing. Yeah, I did it. We've added a QA team at Mediavine. I'm very proud to work with Doug and Matt, who have started building a QA team. We've also added more engineers. We're increasing our WordPress engineering team and the experts in WordPress and plugin development. We're going to create more schema, like Eric said yesterday. I am super excited about some of the new schema opportunities and those experiences that we can build for you. Indexes are also, I think, going to be very interesting and create a lot of experiences that are going to be great for your readers as well as easy for you to develop. Again, I keep using the word opportunities. At this point, it's getting ridiculous. And the roadmap is always growing. If anybody's interested, please talk to Doug about becoming a beta tester of our newest features ahead of anyone else so that we can get your feedback sooner and meet your needs. If you're a beta tester, you are going to get a bigger say in what a feature might need or needs in order to be productive for you. All right, Create is better with friends. Hook your site up like Voltron.
Can I just tell you guys that Jordan asked me yesterday if you would know who Voltron was?
You're really going to throw me under that bus?
I did.
It's fine. All right, we're going to get a little more technical again. A lot of you have probably used Genesis, and so you might have heard the term hooks and filters before. Well, we're building Trellis. We've got Grow. We're building Create. Those things, when you use them together, we're going to get to be able to do really cool things with those because we have control of their development and we know exactly what's available to us. So if you're using Trellis with Grow, you might have more options for where you stick your share buttons because we're able to more deeply integrate with the theme at different levels. But how? Again, that was the talk description was actually how are we doing this? And we are applying these same principles to create Trellis and Grow going forward. Lighthouse, we use it constantly. In Trellis, if what's called a PR or a piece of new code does not pass a Lighthouse speed test, we cannot merge that code into the production core. This is a kind of utility that we will be adding to all of our products going forward. Best practices. We also worry about things like accessibility as best we can and try to take care of anything that would be best practice that we are capable of taking care of. QA, I already mentioned Doug. He's our best and worst frenemy. I love Doug deeply, but he does great things. We are a little bit slower in our deployments, but it's better because we are much more stable as a result. So that's the inside joke is that QA is always your best frenemy. Rich snippets, we always are going to look for new opportunities, and we're going to follow the rich snippet spec and try to build against that so that we know that we're helping you present your site in the best light inside your Google search results. All right.
Yes.
Now we will take questions,
We
and
had
I'll
a
do my best.
question.
You're saying you're going to roll out some kind of an index feature. Does that mean that every time that we've already used it to create related posts, we can just switch a button, or we're going to have to like totally redo that work?
So one of the things we try to do is, and we learned this very much from lists, lists were used by publishers in ways we honestly never imagined. And so you will probably not be able to migrate your lists day one, but it will be something that we will look at opportunities to enhance for you.
So maybe it might be better not to do a lot of related posts right now. If you
I would
think-
highly encourage you to maybe wait, like use your lists as they are ultimately designed for, and use a few. But yes, I would ideally wait for us to be able to launch that indexes feature.
I think probably if you've implemented it the way that is recommended, there's probably not going to be any reason to go back and fix the
This
ones
is true,
that you've already.
absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? So it's already useful. It's already doing what you need it to do for your reader and recommending other content, and you implemented it in the right way. So there probably wouldn't be any reason to go back and like reverse course and do it over again. But it would just make it easier for you going forward. It would be a new tool that you could use.
The way if you've used lists with the schema checkbox disabled before to achieve that objective, we're not going to disable that ability in lists. Those are still going to function as they work today.
So I want to have information on the jump to button. So like, where are we going to find it? Is it going to be in the create? Is it going to be in the dashboard?
Okay, so the jump to card buttons are going to be settings inside Create. You will need to register your copy of Create if you haven't already to get that tab to be available for you to enable the jump to card. It's a handful of settings. Again, there's some folks helping with Create back there. They can walk you through it, but the settings include enabling the jump to card, picking out the colors that you might want for your button, and choosing a couple of different button layouts to
It
sort
is
of match your
available
thing.
on the most updated version.
Yes,
The
so
update that went out
1.50 is
yesterday.
in the repo
So,
right now.
yeah. So if you go into WordPress dashboard and you update to the most current version of Create, which should be 1.5,
Yes.
then you will have those settings available. And if you don't know where to look, and you don't know where to find them, everybody that you applauded for earlier is in the back. They can help you. Yes.
Is the jump to button only going to be available at the top, or can you put it where you want in the post?
For now, it's only available at the top. If that is a feature that you're interested in, I would highly encourage you to email to Create at Mediavine so we can document that.
Hey.
Charlotte.
Hello. How are you?
So, how-to posts. So, I'd say my top 5 posts are how-to. Some of them are older. Some of them have create cards in them. Should I be going back to a highly optimized performing post and put a create card in it, or should I just leave it alone?
That is an amazing question. I think it really kind of probably depends on, it'll depend on a lot of factors. Where is the traffic coming from? How are people getting there? Is it making it more useful content? Probably the answers are gonna vary a little based on your analytics and like the actual specifics of your use case. I think most of the time when you're adding new opportunities for Google to find you, it's never a bad thing, but it would definitely depend on, what's happening. I kind of hold my breath if it's like a top post, especially if you're ranking really high and the traffic is search traffic, you're kind of like, yeah. But adding a how-to card, so it's not, instead of making over an entire piece of content, it would kind of be like if I had, on my site, because I write food content, so if I had written a recipe and it was just somehow performing really well, but I never told Google, like, hey, these are ingredients, these are instructions, I am the author, this is how long it takes in that specific markup, adding those details is only going to make Google better understand what it is that I'm doing. So, yeah. Just don't take anything good away.
I'm looking at it right now and I see something new, recommended products. Did I blank out and miss you going over that? That looks like a new feature. Or is it pulling it in
We've
something?
had recommended products the whole time.
Well, tell me more.
So the recommended products are a feature for the cards that will allow you to add typically affiliate links, or if you want to, just any kind of links to say, hey, for this recipe, or I used a KitchenAid mixer. For this DIY project, look, my DIY projects are mostly decks for my house. So I use a drill or an impact driver. So those products are there. From what I understand, they've typically performed, a lot of people have told us they
You
perform
guys,
very well
I suck
for
at
their
affiliate
affiliate
marketing.
programs.
I am the worst. You are not the worst, but I am the worst. So, you're right. I really never bothered adding, I never bothered adding affiliate links to my posts before Create, but it made it so easy, and it also like stores them for you, so you don't always have to go back and find the link and keep adding the same thing over and over again. It just pulls it in. I actually get a paycheck from Amazon now. It's kind of nice. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. New opportunities.
New opportunities. I've decided that if I ever give this talk again, it's just going to be titled New Opportunities.
All right. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.